My dad sent me this editorial from the New York Times from a couple of days ago, and it's about the Jacobins in France during the Reign of Terror. Okay, let's go with Jacobins. Okay, doesn't sound quite right, but anyway, these are the guys that took over after the French Revolution, and they were in favor of liberty. The only problem was they got a little carried away, and they started viewing everything as liberty versus tyranny. And everything was a war between liberty and tyranny. And it led to what is now known as the Terror, the Reign of Terror. And unfortunately, they wound up putting a lot of their political enemies to the guillotine. They're the ones that came up with the guillotine. That was clever. Or actually, they're the ones that used it a lot on their enemies. So, one of the things that they immediately did when they decided it was a war between liberty and tyranny, and of course they were the good guys, they were on the side of liberty, was let's see if we can guess it. Yeah, preemptive war. Preventative strike on Austria. Une guerre offensive. I'm sure I've said that wrong as well, but I'm having fun. Okay, so they started an offensive war against Austria because they were in favor of tyranny and the French were in favor of liberty. They had to. What could they do? But once they started the war, well, then they got to turn internal. You can't have internal enemies. They're the most dangerous. So, by the way, one of them warned them. Brissot said, no one likes armed missionaries. Like, if we're going to pass, we're going to pretend that we're spreading liberty, people don't like armed missionaries. Later, he changed his mind and thought, yeah, let's keep starting those wars and killing those political enemies that we have. But he was right in the beginning. So they invade Austria, and then they go to root out domestic political dissent. So they, as this editorial says for the New York Times, they promoted their political program through a tightly coordinated network of newspapers, political hacks, pamphleteers, and political clubs. Heritage Foundation, Weekly Standard, American Enterprise Institute, sound a little familiar? And the true patriots were those who wore badges of patriotism like the Liberty Cap on their heads, or a red, white, and blue rosette on their hats, or even on their lapels. Where have I seen that before? By the way, when the Bush guys come up with the Liberty Caps, that's when you know you got to run for the hills, because the guillotine is next. All right. Then what did they do? I mean, look, every tyrannical system has the same exact blueprint. We've told you about it in Germany in the past. We've told you about it in relation to other countries. In 1792, the Jacobins, I'm sorry, someone will correct us, decided the next thing to do was what they called domiciliary visits, butchering every single word today. That was visits to your domicile, to your home. Warrantless searches. Warrants, there's a pain in the ass. Look, liberty doesn't have time for warrants. So they went to warrantless searches. Where have I seen this movie before? Where have I seen it? And they said, you know why they justified it? Quote, it was when the homeland is in danger. Where have I seen that before? Okay, and then they decided, you know what? If you have nothing to worry about unless you're a conspirator. Here's a quote. This severity is alarming, meaning you can say you're getting more and more severe in their actions. This severity is alarming only for the conspirators, only for the enemies of liberty. And then here's a classic line. I mean, can't you just hear George Bush saying this? No liberty for the enemies of liberty. That's when they took everybody's rights away. They said, no, well, if you're an enemy of liberty, you don't deserve liberty, and I decide who's the enemy of liberty, so no liberties for the enemies of liberties. Can't you just see them saying it? And then came the guillotine. And by the way, one last final note here. You know where the word terrorist comes from? It doesn't come from the Middle East. It comes from France during the reign of Terror. And the people who did the Jacobins who did the Reign of Terror were called terroristes, the terrorists, the guys who thought there was a war between liberty and tyranny and decided that there should be no liberties for the enemies of liberty. And the ones that started the offensive wars and barging into people's houses without court orders and taking away their rights. Where have I seen this movie before?